Good afternoon.
Who did make it?
I made it. It's good.
It is 5 o'clock, so we're gonna call our meeting to order for the IEJ Restoration Committee. Really for our agenda for tonight, the only thing we really have planned, from a county's perspective, wanted to update you all on the deed process. Attorney shared with us that they are still in the process of getting the deed changed over, from the schools to the county, so that's kind of where we're at, which kind of puts us in limbo, of moving forward. In our November meeting, no, was it November? In our November meeting, Kevin brought before us, was it $400,000 to appropriate, in our budget to start the work for the gymnasium. And that is still contingent upon, once we get the deed straight.
He's not gonna start any work for that fund, but he did get a little ahead of the game and changed all the utilities to the county name already. But, he's gonna make no huge deal about that, unless it goes on.
Yeah, but for right now.
Yeah, for the right now.
In our meeting, we also instructed Ed Johnston, our attorney, to get in contact with your attorneys to start working on those memorandums of understandings and agreements so we can get all that straight. I think Commissioner Ivy shared with you all that we wanted to schedule this meeting after the Parks and Recreation Advisory Council Board meeting so that our Parks and Rec director could come and talk with us. Their advisory council met yesterday. Of course, Commissioner Ivy is a vice chair of that board. City Council member Wanger is a part of that. He was not present, but he is a part of that. And I attended their meeting on yesterday, and we had really good conversation. And Mr. Graham is going to just kind of share with you kind of what the vision and thoughts are.
Yeah, it's probably the longest Parks and Rec I've been to.
Really?
I mean, it's
Solid hour.
yeah, it was at least an hour.
Wow.
But I wanted to make sure all those people had input.
It was really good
what they
conversation.
thought. So, yeah, I thought it was good.
Everything seemed positive, project so far?
Very much so.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, Commissioner Gibson. Like you said, we had a solid meeting yesterday. Great opportunity for our advisory board members, which are, stakeholders throughout the county, just to provide some good feedback for programs that we would like to see and focus on at the IEJ location. So what we came up with from a consensus of our advisory board was essentially a huge focus on youth and teen programming, which is a need in the community. Not to say that we wouldn't expand services into other senior programs or even recreation and family programs, which are other areas that we focus on in Parks and Recreation. But initially to have a huge focus on, youth and teens in the community. There are a couple factors that are unknowns, for us to come up with a final and solid plan, which is what we discussed as well. And some of those include budgeting items and, any additional staff that would be allotted to that facility. I did bring with me some budgeting numbers from the Wagram Recreation Center because, from my perspective, we're building Laurel Hill. We have IEJ on board, and Wagram has been in existence for years. So, we want consistency across all of our rec centers so that they kind of mirror each other. So I did bring these numbers to present to you guys, so you can just write it down, food for thought.
Brian's area of responsibility is growing great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but a couple of important things that we discussed is, we really don't want to come up with a plan in-house in Parks and Recreation. We want to get out into that community and meet with stakeholders, meet inside those churches so that we can develop a plan based off of what they would like to see in that facility. It's one thing for us to think that we're going to create success, but it's another to really get out there and put names with faces and really establish that solid relationship with the stakeholders and individuals in that community. So we're on a first name basis across the board. So that's something that we're going to hope to establish in the next few weeks, is to just get out and set up a couple different meetings out in that area so that, we're trusted. Our faces are trusted. People know us, past a professional level, on a personal level, so that when we are establishing programs, they know that we're working hard for what they want in that area. And that's the intent of our overall plan for IEJ, is to obviously create off of what we've already established over the past few years under my leadership, but to hear some of the ideas that they have. there was several ideas thrown out in our advisory board meeting, and I simply told them, hey, we can try anything at this point, because what we're gonna have to do over time is to kind of weed out the programs that might not work as effectively and focus on, a handful of solid programs year-round at that facility. So, we talked a lot about collaboration from a sheriff's department perspective, Laurinburg Police Department, and the other community stakeholders and organizations that we work with here in the county. This is just not parks and recreation. A lot of the success that we have is through partnership. So, we continue that trend over in IEJ. Just want to throw some numbers out to you, just for note. Wagram Recreation Center has 2.5 staff members, 2 full-time, 1 part-time position. Their total allotted budget with fringe benefits is $107,663. That's budget, that's salary, insurance, all the fringe benefits. From the programs and facility perspective, $38,550 are allotted to that facility for special programs, for electrical, for whatever else they need to put on programs. So the bulk of the monies go into staff, which is in public service. That's your most valuable asset. So that total comes to $146,213 in total. And again, we want to mirror what we're doing in other facilities. We keep 2 staff members at a facility at all times, from a safety perspective, from a risk management perspective, so that if anything happens, I got a witness there or anything along those lines. That's just being responsible on our part. So we definitely think that, we would love to see at least 2 staff members in this program initially. Even if that's on a part-time basis and we start there and grow from there, then that's fine. But, we think that's very important from our standpoint. But again, our desire is to have consistency across the board. Wagram has success, and a lot of what goes on in Wagram really focuses on senior programs. They have a huge senior program and following up at the Wagram Recreation Center. But we want to mirror their success in other avenues, at IEJ, even at Laurel Hill. So, knowing that our focus is going to be on youth and teen program, I see the sky as the limit at this point in time. We're really going to get out into the community, talk to the different stakeholders, talk to the churches, different organizations over in that area, and set up a plan based off of what they would like to see. So that's kind of where we're at. A solid meeting, a lot of positive vibes in the community. And this can do nothing but benefit not only Parks and Recreation, but the community as a whole.
Yeah, there was a lot of different discussions, and I guess that IEJ, as far as the gym goes, which is what we're really talking about now, has a little different aspect that Wagram and Laurel Hill's gonna have, because of that stage. So, they talk a lot about doing some performance stuff there, performance art stuff up there on the stage, and having a location for that, or even if you had to do it in the old cafeteria, because there's a stage in there too. But yeah, it was, how many were there? Counting staff, 12.
Yeah,
15,
12 or 14.
And there wasn't, I didn't hear a negative word on anybody's mouth. So,
Only thing I thought about after we left, and as you're talking, kind of what we left their meeting with is that they're going to start we're gonna work with them to try and plan some events or opportunities to have conversations in that community, for the community to say, this is what we're interested in. And I really think that's something that this committee needs to be a part of as well, because we do want to hear about this part, but for the other areas of that building, I think it's important for us to hear some of the things that they're interested in. We know what we want to put in that building, but we've not yet heard from they told us as commissioners, we want this building to stay, but not, I told them in our meeting yesterday on their meeting yesterday, I had 2 older ladies I saw at a funeral who told me, whenever you all get going, if y'all will give us a little room, we want to teach young girls particularly how to hem pants and sew buttons on, that type of stuff. I had thought of that, but that is something that could definitely go into this building. So I think our committee needs to work with Parks and Rec, and we have a joint town hall meetings or whatever it is, so that we can say, as a board or committee, this is what we're bringing. The initial stage of it is going to be Parks and Rec. So, Parks and Rec wants to talk and build that relationship, but we also want to know, for the long-term plan, what are some of the things that you'd like to to see happen. So I just want to throw that out. I think that would be a good idea.
You know, it's like you said earlier, that money, the $400,000 for the first year, we already budgeted it, but it's appropriated now. So it's in a bucket somewhere waiting to, and I think, and you would have to ask Kevin this, some of that staffing and stuff was addressed in that
Okay.
money.
Yeah.
I think. And I'm over and above the community center director position. I think some of that was, but don't quote me on that, but, we budgeted 400,000, even though the first phase, I think, said 360.
Not quite.
He went ahead and rounded it up to 400 to ensure we have enough to do what we want to do in there. And I think his plan is to try to get somebody to start next month on, if the deed stuff is done, next month on those bathrooms in the back, which is the big need there, because you got to make them ADA compliant and get them up to speed. Although we do have bathrooms in the front that can't be used until then, but some minor spots in the floor that need to be, you know, we're not putting the whole floor in there, but it would be fixed. Last time we were in there, there was a ton of stuff still in there from the school, desks and chairs and all that stuff in there. So I don't know I know they sold some of it, but I don't know if that stuff just left over or.
So, off the record, you know, we had agreed to let them use the building for the Love Project.
Right.
Because the building has not been switched over in our name, we had to switch it over and ask the schools to give permission. So different sort of requests, schools have agreed. Kevin had agreed that our staff was gonna go in there and move the stuff out.
Okay.
But I think the school staff is gonna go in there and get that stuff out of there.
I mean, some of that stuff may be used in
I
that.
think a lot of it.
In the center itself.
Yeah, in the center.
Yeah, but
There was some old computers and stuff there.
But tables and chairs, yeah, I said to them yesterday.
Don't throw nothing.
Don't throw anything away. Put it in a room and let us, when we get to utilize the building, go through it before we throw it out. I mean, the building, honestly, goodness, that building could be cleaned up and used today. I mean, it's not a bad, and really, the quicker we use it, I think the better.
Like anything, it don't do no good.
You know,
sitting there.
So what staffing is included in the 400K? Is
The
it
community center director is definitely included in that.
okay,
But I, for some reason, I want to say some of the Parks and Rec allocation was in that, but I just don't,
oh,
right off the top of my head. But I know the community center director was allocated in that, so.
And our conversation there was, Kevin has enough on him to not have to be trying to oversee this. So we were saying we want to get a director in place so that they could oversee what's happening there, but not just this part, because Parks and Rec is gonna handle this. So the director would be working with Parks and Rec on this, but this director is gonna oversee the totality of this program, ongoing, setting these things up and all that. And we felt like that person kind of need to be put in place soon.
Well, I think Susan is doing the research on like a job
Description.
and what would you pay and that kind of thing, which I have a number in my head, but that don't mean that's the number, but.
I think we all.
Yeah,
But.
Can we look at the job description, this committee look at the job description?
Oh, you'll
That's
have to
fine.
before, yeah. But again, it's, some of that hold up right now is the deed, because we don't want to do too much, get too far ahead of ourselves. And I don't know if they have the same problem they have with North Farmer or not. I don't know what
He
the
didn't
deed
say.
problem is, so. I know they just get fined on North Farmer, right?
I asked the attorney that, I'm not part of the committee, but I asked him about that the other night, and he said, no, shouldn't be a problem at all.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know what
As far as
issue.
located.
Right. They'll do them a little attorney tricks and make one appear if they don't find it, you know, that's why they're attorneys. But that was really what we wanted to do tonight, because until we get everything like that stuff finalized, I don't see us needing really to come back together until December at least.
Yeah.
And
And
we
that's
may
why,
want to do that public thing sometime.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, after we get through Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
I think we'll start putting our heads together on that community deal. And we talked about just simply reaching out to some of the churches that are over there. And maybe, you know, Union Grove and Galileo right there. You know, this COVID stuff still makes it crazy, but just setting up something, we don't know what yet, but
And maybe we can meet in the gym because it's such a large space.
That's what I'm about to
As
say,
bleachers.
we could have a meeting right there.
right in the building, yeah.
And the heat and air works.
Yeah, so once we get past Thanksgiving, we can work together with our hands together and set something up.
I just wanted y'all to hear where we were in it, but.
That we all still moving.
Parks and Rec had come up with, and gonna do it until after the meeting yesterday. Because I don't think it was fair to ask just him to come up with a plan, that's why I said.
So Parks and Rec, you wouldn't be over the whole thing, and we're gonna put a director in place to be over the community center, and they're gonna answer to you or Kevin or what?
They would answer to Kevin,
Okay,
but they're gonna oversee the thing as a whole.
okay,
Parks and Rec's responsibility is gonna be that back section. But not that they won't work together. Maybe Parks and Rec has something going on they need to use that cafeteria for. They just set that up with that community center director. I mean, those kind of things. So, but somebody's gotta be out there other than a county manager or, somebody like that can devote all their time to it. They don't have time. And I know Kevin don't have time to do it. Brian ain't gonna have time to run the whole thing.
Has there been further discussion about a board specifically for the community center?
We talked a little bit about that with Ed, and basically he just said, you have to tell me how you want it set up, and, what kind of community members you want on it, that kind of thing. But again, I think we gotta wait till we get a little bit further down.
So we actually have something similar to that at Waverham, and it's just a group of stakeholders right there in that immediate area that meet, I think they might meet quarterly, just to discuss projects or what we can do in the future, or, areas of concern or areas of need. So that can definitely provide value. I think
And that's probably gonna be something we do in Laurel Hill.
Like an advisory type group?
Kind of like an advisory group, yeah. Really don't have a tremendous amount of authority, to go out and do stuff, but report back to the board and say, we think we need to do this.
Yeah, because, you get community input and community buy-in from stuff like that. So, there's value. All it does is create value across the board.
Yeah, but you get the right one on the board, then a lot of things can happen.
Oh, yeah. So Ed's gonna look into that. I think we just gotta give you some more direction on creating it as a nonprofit, how we wanna create it, for that board.
Right, and it may be just an advisory board,
Yeah.
so, but either way, you gotta have a policy, you gotta have that kind of thing, so, good evening.
So I guess for our December meeting, we'll be looking towards bringing back some thoughts about that board. But prior to that, as soon as we get past Thanksgiving, between Brian and I and Tim, we'll get an email going with everybody, and we start trying to plan up something for a community meeting.
Yeah, because there is no good time for that between now and Thanksgiving.
I don't know, if you advertise it right, I think you'll have a lot of feedback from the community. I think, as long as you give them enough time to.
I wondered if the
Plan
Zoom
for
will
it.
hold all the people.
That's true. They don't show up.
Oh, yeah.
I would think that the best time to do that would be somewhere around the weekend of the 10th, because that's before people start working the week of the 10th. So it's actually the week of the 6th, but just because that's before people start traveling for Christmas and that type of thing. But that's just, I don't want to say plan it now, But maybe that is our next meeting.
It could be, yeah.
So,
Yeah, the only thing, any weekends are tied up for me until like after the 17th of December, so.
somebody's been on my calendar again.
Got a haircut coming up?
No, I got a regional broadband study result at 10 o'clock on the 13th.
That is probably Kevin the night of that, because they have asked us to set up something on that day.
Well, then I know, I don't do the guilty party. Somebody been on my calendar again. You won't confuse me.
Are we talking about doing this on the weekend?
Oh, no.
That's what I was saying, the weekend's not the best for me.
I was just saying the week of the
Okay.
6th.
Brian, what works best for you?
I'll make myself available, so.
The week of the 6th is good for me, the week of the 13th is not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think by the time you get to the week of the 13th, then you get into people's traveling and Christmas and that kind of thing. And if we could do it that week, maybe somewhere around the 9th or.
Yeah, any time during the week's good for me.
BJ, are the churches meeting on Wednesday nights, like in person, or they're?
I doubt they ever will. I think that's cool. Even when church return, most conversations are keeping Wednesday nights on virtual, so.
Okay.
Wednesday night will not hurt, I don't think, in church, but it is virtual still, so probably that Thursday would be better, the 9th.
Yeah, I was
I mean, we can
wondering
say
if
that
they
if
would
y'all
partner
feel
with
like,
us and if they're if their congregation's already used to having something on Wednesday night.
The only reason I say,
We could set that for the ninth and say,
Yeah.
make it for 7 o'clock at the IEJ gym. And then we could start just going to the churches in the different groups of getting groups ready to come, because that's a month.
You can see what the turnout is on the night.
And then we do our board meeting with that community meeting.
If it's anything like Laurel Hill, you know, we were packed in there,
ooh, and it's gonna be bad.
and it's I have a
That's what I'm
sound
saying,
system.
I wonder if the gym's gonna hold everybody.
Yeah, I have a PA system, so we'll be good to go.
I'm okay
I'm good with
with
that.
that.
Let's, if y'all are good, we're the ones. Let's say we'll do it on the 9th at 7 o'clock.
Pending the deed getting taken care of, or doesn't?
Well, even if the deed
matter?
doesn't get taken care of, schools can give us, permission to still do it. That's not a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
We all in this together, so.
So call it an IEJ community forum or community meeting?
right. And then we'll just start getting the different players over there, and Don will be a big one in that.
Yeah.
Don, you get everybody out.
Yeah, we'll give them.
Jimmy ain't sick, I mean,
I'm
now
gonna
he
check on
didn't
them
show up tonight,
I'm
I'm
gonna check
worried
on them
about that something.
I'm
Will it
actually
just
going
be
on my-
open floor where people can share ideas, just speak?
Bring their ideas, that's what I
We
would.
would
We have
probably
an
need some kind of way to
agenda.
organize that though, if we did a large crowd.
So the way that we did it at Laurel Hill, we had little breakout groups.
We write it down and then the
And,
speaker.
you know, some paper, writing down ideas, and then kind of got back together and followed up with.
That's how we do our budget sessions, but we have break it out in breakout groups and 5 or 6 or 10 people, however, you divide it up however you can, and they just write it all down.
Mhm.
And then one person from that group presents it.
Well, we went a little too far on that one, we had a mediator come from Raleigh. and
I don't wanna do that. I think the agenda should be very simple. We open up, share as a committee what we're trying to do,
Right.
what our vision is. Turn it over to Brian, let Brian divide them up into the groups. Or however you do that. And then let me do as he just said, and they can, I would prefer them giving us wide range goals and
Yeah.
all of it.
Any
Yeah,
idea?
long-term goal,
Yeah.
short-term goal.
And then we bring it back.
And not just for that gym.
Yeah, for everything.
Right.
For the
And he
whole-
can pull out what he needs for the gym, and then we can pull back what we need for the overall program and work it that way. I think that works better than just people getting up talking, the small groups. I
Well,
wouldn't
if
know.
not, you'll hear the same thing.
Over and over.
Yeah, exactly. You have it all written down.
And the gym is simple. Put some in that corner, some in that corner, some in that corner.
So will they be in the bleachers, or do we wanna have tables?
Tables and
set
chairs
up?
probably better, because you're gonna be writing down on probably a large piece of paper, I
Or
would
have them
assume.
on flip chart paper?
So we could have them on the bleachers and have a table in front of it, you know.
Yeah.
I'll invite some of our advisory board members out, you know, to assist with the different breakout sessions, you know, to help take notes, because there's gonna be several different groups. So-
And then some of you
Or
all.
yeah, like, we can help, or we can float around and just kind of talk to them or
Well, we
whatever.
can get asked up yelling and see you kind of promote that too.
Oh, he gonna tell, not tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean,
Tomorrow too.
as a ongoing.
Oh, yeah. And we'll get a flyer made up. Me and Brian, we'll work on a flyer and get it out.
And as soon as you can get that out, get it on social media, and I'll share it, and my kids will share it, stuff like that, so.
How long, what is the time, like about 2 hours?
I would say 7 to 9.
Yeah, I would limit it to 2 hours.
You know, what about like light refreshments or water or anything like that, or?
It's still COVID for me, I say no.
I said, yeah, well,
Okay,
and the gym floor.
Yeah, folk are just picky.
Yeah.
And there may be no restroom facilities, right?
No, there's, the two up front work now, they're just not
They're
ADA
just not
compliant.
ADA.
Right.
I think they'll be happy to
Technically-
leave.
Technically,
That we're there.
you don't have to make them ADA compliant unless you go in there and start doing stuff. Then you gotta change them. And those can't be changed to ADA compliant
So we'll be grandfathered in until.
until we start working on it.
Okay.
But those work, as far as I know. I haven't heard that they didn't, so.
So is there a need to offer a virtual opportunity, or do you think people will show up in person?
I think,
Oh, I think they'll come.
I think they're coming.
I think they'll be, like I said, Laurel Hill, we had at least 100 in that little church at the time. There were people still standing up around the corner,
Oh,
around
yeah.
the
They'll
sign.
be there.
Okay.
And if they do that Laurel Hill, I know they'll turn out there.
And Brian, are you gonna be able to come to our future meetings here and stuff and keep working with us on this?
Yeah, I'd love to.
We'll add you to the notifications.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
That's all I got. So December 9th, we'll.
Jason's gonna send these minutes and hopefully a clip of the meeting if he can, out to all of us, even those who are not here. That way you'll know what we talked
So
about.
you can
So when
watch
we
it.
go to our meeting Tuesday, I can tell them that we're still working on the deed. We've got Brian involved. We've got a community forum set up for the 9th.
Our money's allocated,
The county's money's allocated.
Right.
And it'll be good to have them attend the meeting
and they've changed the
Before.
utilities into the county,
on the night.
so.
So they just, like,
Do we wanna ask the school district to put this on their Facebook?
yeah, once we get a flyer made, and we'll have it, I mean, I can do it, but I'll give Brian, we have first of the week.
Share it.
So everybody can share on their websites and,
Yeah, I think given a month, we got a month's notice, that's probably plenty.
yeah,
All right,
Sounds great. Thank y'all.
we adjourn.
we are adjourned.
Right. All those specific
If you don't want that.
programs or athletic events or that kind of thing.